So we will move on to the next talk, which is Malin Ekman Alden, who is Malin online or no, here with us in person. That's wonderful. So just while Malin is getting ready, Malin is the Director General of the Swedish Agency for Participation, and we'll be talking about a matter of course for equality. So yes. At this point, I will let her
take over. Thank you. So, hello everybody, and I'm really happy to be here. I'm not very used to speaking English. I'll do my best. It's a bit challenging. Everybody here is native speakers, so yeah. I have a presentation, and Nazrin have promised to support me. I will, in a way, I think I will there have been so many beautiful presentations already, and in a way I've kept to the, I just took the wrong paper, sorry. Sorry about my disorganization here. So what did I? Oh, there we go, I can see it. Right. So could we put the first picture on, please? Yes, so this is me. And as I was introduced, I'm the Director General of the National Swedish Agency of Participation. We are a government agency commissioned by the government to support the implementation and follow-up of the national disability policy in Sweden. So please change. And next picture, please. Oh, it doesn't work. So if you talk a little, I think I will talk a little about the national policy. And the goal of the national policy in Sweden is to ensure equality in living conditions for persons with disabilities. And as you can understand, this is a very ambitious goal. It's the reality for persons with disability in Sweden is rather far from this still in all areas, I would say, of society, but this is what we're heading for. And the work of our agency is actually to promote different actors, because this is a joint venture, obviously, by the whole society to move towards this goal. Thank you. Would you change, please? The national goal, just as the Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities, is obviously a cross-cutting goal, and the strategy formed by the national from the national goal is also a cross-sectorial one, because to reach the goal of full participation and equal living conditions, everybody has to participate, and that would be all sectors of society, but also people with different roles and actors in all different levels of society. But the Swedish goal, as most goals in most countries in the world today, is based on the Convention, and that has been mentioned earlier today. And the Convention is one of the newest human rights tools within the UN system. It was passed in 2006 by the General Assembly of the United Nations, and today is forming part of the basic framework of the human rights structure in the world. So it's fully, you can say, included in that. And it's been quite a quick process of introducing the convention in globally. I think almost 200 countries in the world have signed the convention, and as many as I understand, up to 160 have also ratified. And ratified means that they have actually ensured the convention is coherent with the national legislative framework. Could be in different ways, but Sweden is one of these countries. The convention was ratified by the Swedish Parliament in 2009, and we are now in the process of actually trying to implement it, or ensuring its implementation. And you can see that the national policy is the framework of this implementation process. There is a very basic principle in the convention which I think is really worth to remember, and it's is like a phrase that is going in the disability movement for many years. It's nothing for us without us. It could be called active involvement, also in more practical terms. The idea of the convention is nothing can really be developed if the people that are actually the target group of the measures are involved. That's a very basic understanding of how development processes are working. You have to include whatever you call them, end users, people, right holders, whatever. And that's very strong in this convention. I think it's the strongest phrases in, if you look at other human rights instruments, it's not so clear, but in this it's really clear. And that's a very important thing, I think to remember. Please change. The convention is, I make it very simple now, but it's really based on 4 key strategies. And these strategies are also to be found in the national policy as the leading principles. And the first is called universal design. And it's a very, and if you look, you can look at the implementation of the convention as a reversed pyramid in a way, because the base for the whole thing is to ensure that everything that is created in our society, could be services, could be, well, anything really, has to ensure that as many people, citizens, whatever you will call them, as possible, are actually able to use and access what is produced. And if that is not made, nothing else will actually work in the end. Resources will never be enough and so on. So to ensure that design is universally made is very important. And obviously to ensure this, you need to involve actually a broad group of people with different needs, different opportunities, living in different situations, and that is really basic. Second strategy is that we always have to work on identifying and also remove different obstacles that are in place for the access and involvement of, could be people with disabilities, could obviously be other groups also. These are already built into our different systems, but we are also creating them all the time, as we are not looking at the target group in its whole width, because we are still missing, or we are having a too narrow understanding of who is actually going to reach with our different services, or whatever it is. Third one is very interesting and very much also in line to what we're talking on today, and that I call it individual support. And that is, even though we really try hard and do our best to universally design different things in society, we are looking to remove different barriers. There will still be people that would need more individual support to actually access what is available. And that could be, we heard this earlier presentation, that could be very many different things. Obviously, could be technical devices, could be personalized support, different things. But we also have to remember that that's a part of the full access to different things in society. And this also requires from us, who are like public actors, that to ensure not only that these are available, but we also need to have systems to actually use them when they are needed. And as a public agency, I think that is very important for me and others in my position to understand that it's not only that they are available in the society, you also have to ensure you have system and budgets to ensure that they are actually in place in a practical way when people need them. And fourth one is to prevent and combat discrimination, a very basic principle within the human rights system. And from our understanding, if you're actually working really structured with these 3 first, that would be a very efficient way to combat discrimination, because it's in these early 3 that discrimination often appears. Obviously, you also need to recognize disability as an aspect of all the work against discrimination. Is one of the grounds in Swedish legislation and in most countries, or many countries at least. So these are the 4 strategies, and they are really the basis of the convention. but also the national disability policy. So that is really what my agency has also as a base for our work. Today we're talking about culture and communication specifically. So I thought it could be good to see what is actually said about the right of communication in the convention. And there are basically two like sectors in the convention that I would like to highlight. And the first one is the definition. It's Article 2 in the convention. And in this article, it's as you can see, it's very clearly read out that communication, I read from the picture, communication is the scope of the convention may apply to, and then there are many different aspects mentioned to ensure that all the countries, the decision makers, or whoever is in charge of implementation would understand the broad understanding of communication. And this, I think in this long list of different formats, you should also add what we are talking about, also tactile measures. So it's really formulated very clearly as a basic right. It is also said very clearly, which is also a very important thing, and maybe one of the first time a human rights convention is so clear is about language. And it says it's include obviously spoken language, but also sign language, but also other form of non-spoken languages, which is very open but very important definition of language. So I think this is really important. I change picture, please. The other article I would like to mention is Article 21, where we talk about freedom of expression and opinion and access to information. And that is a very, very, very basic human rights in all conventions. Obviously, it's one of the key criteria for human rights. But in this convention, the CRPD, the Convention on Rights of Persons with Disability, this right is more clearly pronounced from the aspects of people with disability. And I have also thought a little about what can actually this freedom of expression be, and how does it interact with a broader understanding of communication. I think that is very applicable to what we are actually talking of today. Yeah, could you switch picture? And what I would like to raise today really is that from my understanding, I think that the expression of the right to sorry, I get a bit mixed up. Yeah, the freedom of expression should not only be seen as actually the right to access what other people have created, or people with other ways of communication, or way of expressing their thoughts, their culture, whatever, should not be. It's not limiting to access what others have done, but actually to be part of creating and enlarging the understanding of expression, and that can be very much in a creative way. And I think many times we are missing out. I think the early speaker talked a lot about actually have the right to be part of culture, in the sense going to an exhibition, have it explained in a way you understand, going to the theater, hear what's on stage, maybe have experience of what's happening in different ways. But I think what should be added to this to actually ensure the right to expression is that actually that the understanding, the knowledge, and the experience of people with disabilities also need to be part of creating the creative expression. I think then, if you ensure that part, you would actually talk about the full right. And I think we are often missing out and are more, and traditionally we are very focused on actually just inviting to a community where you are maybe not part of the creating process. So I think that, and I think you are talking about that much in this project, which is a really important step forward in the whole discussion of also human rights, from my understanding. And I also think that to understand and experience the world with other means and senses, it will actually open up, but also add a dimension to the totality. So I think what we are creating in this project and similar processes is something new, something that will mean more people can actually feel and be part of expressing and actually shaping the world in the end. So please change. I think also, which is very important for me, I think also by embracing and affirming diversity, I think actually it is also the precondition to stay together. And maybe that's very something you would say, surely, but I think today, if we talk about the political development in Sweden, but also in other countries in the whole world, this is really important. And we were hearing earlier about the importance of culture, and I don't think it can be stressed enough, because I think in the world we are living in today, this is so important, and actually maybe this is the most powerful tool we can use, especially when the traditional policy and politics are becoming very difficult and very restrained in different ways. So I think this is a beautiful way actually of also also getting the strength from diversity, which I think it is so very important today. And generally, that was what I'd like to say today, and I would like to thank you, and if there are any questions, welcome. Thank you very much for inviting me.
Okay. Thank you very much, Malin.
Thank you.
It was a fantastic presentation. We'd be around in the break if people have questions.